Ladies and gentlemen, it is once again time to talk basketball. There really isn't like an idea specifically involved in this video, but it's basically just catching up on everything that's gone on over the last couple of weeks because it has been a pretty hectic last couple of weeks in the association. Obviously, I took a little bit of time away. I went on holidays, so I wasn't caught up with a lot of the news over the last couple of weeks, like the Giannis trade, LaMelo Ball getting traded, Julius Randle moving on from the Timberwolves. All these sort of things just sort of happened, and I thought one week at the end of the NBA season, I wasn't really going to miss too much. And I was so wrong. Because all of these deals sort of go down. I forgot how close the NBA draft was to the end of the season. I forgot how close free agency was for the start of the season. By the end of the season, sorry. All of these pennies sort of just fell, and there is a lot to go over. So I think for today's video, it is basically just going over all of these ideas. Obviously, I mentioned the Julius Randle trade. That was basically the first domino to fall. Julius Randle makes his way to the Brooklyn Nets in return for pretty much nothing. I think it was a couple of second round picks, if I'm not completely mistaken. It was basically just a move to get Julius Randle off the books of the Minnesota Timberwolves so that they didn't have to pay for him anymore. Provided he has a big old contract, but Julius Randle is a two-time All-NBA player. And he had a pretty bad playoffs, all things considered, but I did not expect them to move on for basically nothing. The Minnesota Timberwolves seemed like their mind was made up the entire time that they just wanted to get rid of Julius Randle's contract. And for a couple of second round picks, Nick Claxton goes to the Bulls. Nicholas Claxton will probably be a serviceable center on the Bulls for at least a little while they sort of get their team back together. The Minnesota Timberwolves, just freed all the money up. And basically just made it so that they could put another All-Star on the roster. And fast forward to now, that is exactly what they did. Because LaMelo Ball is now a Minnesota Timberwolf. So we've got a guard combo of LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards now in Minnesota. Which for me, it's weird because I think this team's going to be really fun. This team's going to be amazing to watch next season. There's going to be ridiculous highlights coming out of the team. But does it make them better? Because obviously, like, Julius Randle was a 20-point per game player, pretty much. And Julius Randle was a bruiser. He was able to get on the rebounding glass at times. And he was an all-star, as I just mentioned. And LaMelo Ball is also that. And there's a lot of doubt over LaMelo Ball. Obviously, people say LaMelo Ball can't win at the highest level. But in the same vein, like the Charlotte Hornets for the second half of this season were pretty damn much the best team in basketball. There was so many people on the panels and on the talking head shows and on the analytics and all of that saying that people did not want to play the Charlotte Hornets. Because the five-man lineup that they had for the second half of the season of LaMelo Ball, Brendan Miller, Moussa Diabate, Miles Bridges, and Concanipo, that was the best five-man lineup in all of basketball for the second half of the year. And everybody was saying that this Charlotte Hornets team could actually upset the one-seeded Detroit Pistons in the first round. We obviously never got to see it because they just fell short and just fell out of the play-in to the Orlando Magic, who the Orlando Magic went on to win 3 games against Detroit. So the question really raises, like, this team probably could have won a playoff series if they really actually got there and they just got over the hump and just got over Orlando at home. But it just didn't happen, and they immediately blow the team up pretty much. Because I feel like this LaMelo Ball was the best we've seen LaMelo Ball for his entire career. He has been very injury prone over the first few years of his career. He's missed a lot of time with, I believe, like ankles and backs were his 2 biggest injuries. And him missing so much time, obviously, like, it hurts his trade value. He comes in, plays this season, plays the best season of his career. And I think the Charlotte Hornets, in the back of their mind, just saw it as their best opportunity to trade LaMelo Ball and get the most out of him and the value that he could potentially bring. LaMelo Ball can still go on at this point to become an All-NBA guard, to average 10 assists a game, to go along with 20 plus points. LaMelo Ball has all the tools to do exactly that. It's just whether he can stay on the court or not. And I think the Charlotte Hornets are kind of taking a gamble here because they don't think LaMelo in the long form is going to be healthy and is going to be able to stay on the court and lead teams to championship runs later on in his career. But you also say that is a couple of pick swaps, a couple of first-round pick swaps, is Naz Reid and his one unprotected first-round pick. Is that really seen as value to the highest order for LaMelo Ball? Because Naz Reid is a great player, don't get me wrong. I've got not a single bad thing to say about Naz Reid in his game. I feel like Naz Reid, Sixth Man of the Year a couple of years ago. The dude is a great basketball player and will more than likely start on this Hornets team next season after what we saw, which I'll get to in a moment, with the Miles Bridges trade, Miles Bridges no longer being a part of the team. Naz Reid probably comes in and plays the four spot in an opening role next season. So, Naz Reid's a great basketball player, but he ain't LaMelo Ball. And I don't know, I'll kind of have to see it when the season starts. See how LaMelo Ball goes with this Minnesota Timberwolves team. Obviously, I think LaMelo is going to unlock so many opportunities for, like, more lobs to Rudy Gobert, more of an ability to find Anthony Edwards on a catch and shoot. Anthony Edwards is probably the biggest beneficiary to this whole situation because Anthony Edwards is going to get so many more catch and shoot opportunities. There's probably going to be a lot of two-man game between LaMelo Ball and Jaden McDaniels in this upcoming season, which frees up Anthony Edwards to be able to stay in the wing, to be able to occasionally go to the corner, to be able to score in more ways than just off the dribble. And I feel like that was the biggest thing with the Timberwolves in this last couple of seasons, was Anthony Edwards was so relied upon to find his own shot. And Anthony Edwards is one of the best players in the league at finding his own shot off the dribble. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is sometimes getting your all-star player and the best player in your roster open looks for corner threes, for wing threes, for being able to collapse the defense and give him a couple of open looks, sometimes that is not a bad thing for your best player, especially when they're struggling. It is a hell of a lot harder to get going off the dribble than it is to go off a catch and shoot. So I think Anthony Edwards will find another gear this year, being able to go back to just being able to catch and shoot every once in a while. We know how good he is attacking the basket. We know how good he is on the perimeter. We know how good he is in the mid-range. The dude can score from literally anywhere. However, him being able to not create his own shot every now and again, I think will be such an amazing factor for him. Next up, that's pretty much all I've got to say about that trade. Like, it will be a lot of an eye test, and just to see what happens and to see where the team goes from there, from both sides pretty much, on where it goes, how successful they are. Obviously, I don't think Minnesota's done with free agency and with the trade period so far. I don't think the Hornets are necessarily done either. They're still making a lot of moves. But only time will tell what their roster looks like on day one of the season next year. The next big domino, obviously, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, if you guys have any touch in the media space whatsoever, you guys have probably heard so many different things about this Giannis trade, what it means for the Heat, what it means for the Bucks. It just feels like one of those, like, for such a superstar player, it just feels as if this trade didn't really mean as much as a lot of people are expecting. Like, obviously the Luka Doncic trade happens, and people are still talking about the Luka Doncic trade today. But this Giannis trade, I feel like it just kind of came across my timeline, and it kind of felt like it didn't have as much weight to it as a lot of like superstar deals is concerned. I think a lot of it probably does have to do with the fact that Giannis and the Milwaukee trade talks were non-stop, just every offseason, every trade deadline for the last 2 to 3 years. Giannis has been in conversations. Giannis has been, oh, I don't like Milwaukee. I don't like Doc Rivers. The Bucks bite back, and the Bucks looking to move him, and then Giannis comes out 2 days later and says that he actually wants to be a Milwaukee Buck. And then the other day he said that he wanted to be in Milwaukee, but he didn't want to be a Buck. Like, I think there was just so much media weight to this trade that when it finally happened, it was pretty much just a breath of fresh air for a lot of people. He obviously goes down to a Miami Heat team that they gave up a lot of their youth, as a lot of people were expecting. They gave up Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, and Kelly Ware, who were pretty much their whole future. So Miami is buying in, and Pat Riley is really buying into this franchise at the current moment. Obviously, because you kind of want to capitalize on like the prime years of Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, while he's still a great player. Andrew Wiggins just signed a new deal for them. Davion Mitchell, who's a really good, serviceable point guard who's been working on his playmaking play, and he's getting considerably better as time goes on. Norman Powell, who has come out of the woodwork, and Norman Powell, I think, is a very crucial part to this team now. He is pretty much their only source of score, like shooting the basketball. And like Andrew Wiggins, when he is on, is a great shooter. Davion Mitchell is not known to be an amazing three-point jump shooter, mid-range jump shooter, but is serviceable at times. Bam Adebayo has started to work on his jump shot. Like, there's a lot of like, it feels like halfway theirs when it comes to the jump shot of the Miami Heat. So there's not a lot of shooting going around. It wouldn't surprise me if during free agency they found time for a bit of a mid-level exception to find a shooter, just to open the floor up a little bit for this team, because Norman Powell is about the only shooter on this roster, and Norman Powell in himself is 30 plus years old. Like, it is a very interesting team dynamic now. No discredit to Giannis whatsoever, because Giannis is going to make this team considerably better, and I see the Miami Heat not making the play-in this year. They will be in the playoffs this year, because Giannis is in a new situation. Giannis will actually want to play basketball this year. Giannis isn't going to sit out for any little injury that he gets throughout the season, which he, to be honest, I feel like he's done over the last couple of seasons. The team will be better. It just, the question marks around the shooting are a big one. And being able to space the floor, as we know in modern basketball and what the NBA is today, it is such a huge part of what the league is. So Giannis and Bam in a backcourt with Andrew Wiggins, or front court I should say, with Andrew Wiggins, with Davion Mitchell, I expect this team to be a top 5 defense in the league next season. And if they are anything under that, I will be slightly disappointed, to be completely honest, because this team has pretty much 4 all defensive guys. Like, Andrew Wiggins is good enough to be on that roster. Giannis, we know, has been all NBA, all defense, all NBA MVPs. The list goes on. Bam Adebayo is all defensive level. He was in the talks for DPOY a couple of years ago. Like, this team's going to be suffocating on defense. As opposed to offense, that's where sort of the question marks are with this trade, and why I don't think people are looking at Miami as instant contenders. But we'll see. There's so much to go through with it. This team will be good to watch. I'm hoping to be in Miami at some point in this season, so I will be able to actually go and watch Giannis live, which for me is such a huge win, because I wasn't going to Milwaukee to watch Giannis. Craziness. It, yeah, and then the NBA draft happened. I think I'm going to leave the Giannis trade there. The draft happened. I think everyone sort of expected what they got out of the draft. AJ DeBanca went number 1, Darren Peterson number 2, Cameron Boozer number 3, and then you had your Kirsten Wagler, I forget. Caleb Wilson goes number 4 to the Bulls, which the Bulls are hyped about. I'm seeing clips online that Caleb Wilson's saying that he wants to be the best Chicago Bull ever, which is an absurd take. I mean, like, I respect the confidence. Do not get me wrong. I respect the confidence 100%, but in your first introductory press conference, basically saying you're trying to be better than Michael Jordan is crazy. You got to respect it, though. The young kids, like, they get into the league, and Caleb Wilson is a freakish athlete. Do not get me wrong. The dude is a freakish athlete, so I hope it does work out for him. And the Bulls have been struggling to get a decent roster together for a very long time. And I think Caleb Wilson is a good stepping stone for that process. Nick Claxton is also like a good center. He's going to get them through at least the next season or two, it feels like. They're building some good stuff. Josh Giddey is going to find Caleb Wilson in the right spots, provided Josh Giddey is still on the roster. I don't think there's any movement for Josh Giddey on the horizon, so he will be running the point for the Bulls next season, all going well. Yeah, the Bulls will be good. The Warriors get a bruiser in Yaxel. Oh, I forget his last name. But yeah, the Warriors get a taller bruiser. Touching on the Warriors too, all these rumors in the last 48 hours have been absurd. We're talking about a very serious, very likely situation where there can be a last dance of Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis on a roster together. It just sounds fake. It does not sound real. I don't know. And I mean, like 10 years ago, it was literally a physical incapability. Like no GMs in the league were letting Steph and Bron be on the same team together. But obviously that made the rivalry what it was, and that's what made the rivalry so cool, and that's what made the rivalry what it was. But having a world where, like, it is a very real possibility now where Steph and LeBron at, like, their old age basically just have one last run at it together. And if you ask me, like, obviously I'm ecstatic about the idea because LeBron James is still a ridiculously good basketball player. I'm not convinced on Anthony Davis's health, but I think if Anthony Davis is put into that situation, he will be ecstatic and he will actually really want to play basketball, and it is his chance at another ring. Draymond Green obviously allows this all to happen by declining his player option in the last 12 hours. So Draymond Green more than likely is taking a pay cut from his contract, provided that LeBron signs. So I think how the process is going to work is that the Warriors will go for LeBron, throw pretty much everything that they can at him, whether it be the $15 million mid-level exception, whether it be a little bit more, whether we have to free up some more room. But I think they will try and make it happen. And during this negotiation process, if LeBron does agree to a contract, he will take that whatever money is there, and Draymond will get whatever money is left. Draymond Green would not be left out of this equation at all, because I think we both know that both LeBron and Draymond Green are under the same manager in Rich Paul. And Rich Paul knows what he's doing. Rich Paul would have told Draymond Green that this is a very likely scenario, and that is why he declined his player option. Because 48 hours ago, Draymond Green was opting into his player option and nothing was really changing for the Warriors. Fast forward to right now, there is so much happening with the Warriors. I just saw a report just before recording this video that the Wizards are very open to trading Anthony Davis. Obviously, the Anthony Davis package includes Jimmy Butler because that's what makes the contracts match up. Which for me, it really sucks that the Jimmy Butler era, like if the dominoes do fall in the right order and this is how it goes down, it sucks that Jimmy Butler career, like his time at the Warriors, went down the way that it did. Because I feel like there was a very real situation where Jimmy Butler was going to help us win basketball games. And seeing Jimmy Butler in the last, the amount of time that he's missed, and for him just to be packed up and sent to a third different team, because the talks have happened that if the trade was to happen, Jimmy Butler would instantly be rerouted somewhere else. Not being able to watch Jimmy Butler in a Warriors jersey ever again would be quite dampening. Like, it was good to watch while he was on the roster and while he was playing. Jimmy Butler's a dog. We all know that. Yeah. Anthony Davis is worth it. And obviously, if Jimmy Butler stays on the roster, he probably doesn't come back until January, February, which is still a long ways away, and this season can be lost by then. So, yeah, LeBron to the Warriors would be nuts. It's a very real situation, and to be completely honest, because there's so many narratives going around right now that if LeBron joins the Warriors, it dampens his whole legacy and his resume, and it basically makes the whole rivalry null and void, and this and that and the other. But as a Warriors fan, I mean, I'm ecstatic that we are, first of all, in trade talks and in free agency talks, because I feel like we haven't had a serious free agency or trade talk for 5 years. Like, Kevin Durant felt like the last, or D'Angelo Russell actually felt like the last big trade that we did. So for us to be back on the market feels really good. But yeah, Jimmy Butler era may be over, and that's pretty sad. But who knows? Who knows? Al Horford's back on the team. Kristaps Porzingis is also coming back. This team is going to be insanely old. like insanely old. But anyway, the reports will come and I will be back with all the information as it happens. Free agency obviously opens tomorrow, so we will see what happens. We will see whether the Warriors wait or we offer LeBron a contract straight away, which by the sounds of it will happen. He will probably get an offer from them straight away. The talks have probably already happened behind the scenes, so we'll see what happens. But the last thing that I want to touch on, because I've been recording for way too long now and this video is going to go overboard otherwise, Ja Morant is a Portland Trailblazer. The Memphis era of Ja, Desmond, and Jaren Jackson is completely over. It's done. And Ja Morant goes for Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray, which I feel like is undersold a little bit. Like, I know that Ja Morant has so many problems and has missed so much time, and there's the controversies, and there's this and that, but Ja Morant is still a hell of a basketball player. And trading him for just Jeremy Grant feels like, don't get me wrong, Jeremy Grant is a great basketball player, and I watched actually a lot of Jeremy Grant time last year. He's reliable, he stays on the court, he scores the ball, he came off the bench and started for the Portland Trailblazers last season, and he was good in both roles. So the Grizzlies do probably get a starting small forward in Jeremy Grant. However, they lose their star point guard in Ja Morant. This isn't the end for me and the Portland Trailblazers. Like, I think there's way too many guards on that roster. There is now 3 all-star level guards in Jrue Holiday, Damian Lillard, and Ja Morant. Obviously, Damian Lillard is going to be the starting point guard of this team next season. Maybe Ja Morant plays a 2 guard for the first time in his life. That would seem strange, but like, for how low that you bought him, I feel like it was a trade that was worth doing. But yeah, there's just such a stockpile. Like Scoot Henderson was starting to develop good things in that playoff series against the Spurs. He started to look good. And now you just bring on another guard. The team's just basically full of guards. Deni Avdija, we know how good he is now at the game of basketball. The talks for Jaylen Brown for the Portland Trailblazers are a very real situation. So we will see what happens. Like, there's still a lot of dominoes to fall. And I will be here for every single one of them. I'll be here to report, whether it be these videos, whether it be the shorts, I will be here. So we will see what happens with the rest of it. Oh, one more note, by the way. I think the Jaylen Brown situation's ridiculous. I can't believe that this dude just led a Boston Celtics team to 56 wins and was one of the best teams in the East on a year where they were meant to be tanking and when they were meant to be out of the playoffs, and where gets fourth in MVP voting, and they are so sold on trading Jaylen Brown, it's ridiculous. Like, I don't know why they are saying that they cannot win with Jaylen Brown on the roster, because I genuinely think that they can still win with Jaylen Brown on the roster. They just need a decent big man, and Nikola Vucevic did nothing for him in that playoff series. That was their problem. Jaylen Brown was not their problem. Jason Tatum was not their problem. Their point guard play, Peyton Pritchard, was not the problem. Like, I don't know. It is like, Jaylen Brown is a really controversial player, and there's so many things on Twitter of him calling out Stephen A. and so many things of his freedom of speech and things like that. But it just feels so wrong. It doesn't sit well with me. Anyway, that's everything that I basically have for you guys today. I'm just caught up on basically everything, I think. Like, these videos will be pumping out over the next few days. For all we know, LeBron signs with the Warriors tomorrow. And I'm back here making another video. So we'll see how we go. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, it's one of my longer videos in a while. So I appreciate you sticking around if you have. Thank you so much. And stay updated. I will keep you guys updated on all the free agency from here on out. I'm back to the motivation, and I'm back to getting into these videos again. It will all be coming out soon. A big 2 weeks coming up for a lot of teams in the association. And I will see you guys when more of the news breaks. Thank you, guys.